So, do you want to create a thumbnails like that famous content creator? Or just want to make a poster with your favorite characters, but you don't even know where to start? Not a problem. Your East European Uncle Nick is in a hurry to help. Today, I will walk you through the workflow of creating a thumbnail or a poster and try to solve the problems which may arise. Before you start working, you need to decide what you want to do. Simply put, you need an idea, so you can roughly imagine the poses for the characters and where they will be located in the frame. You also need to think about scene composition and light, but don't overdo it. This is just a sketch of what you want to do, so you don't have to think about every small little detail. You do this so there's a rough idea of what a poster or a thumbnail should be. After you decide what you want to do, start looking for the reference for absolutely everything. Poses, background scenes, lights, and even camera arrangements. References allow you not to start from scratch and also help you avoid mistakes that other people made. For example, do you want to do a specific pose for the characters but have not thought about the angle and the camera placement? Just look at the reference with that pose and you will get an idea with which camera angles it will work with. Same goes for lights, background, and everything else. The user reference is a very sensitive topic for a lot of people, so I will be brief. It's okay to use reference to watch and analyze how other people have done what you want to do. It is absolutely normal to use elements from the reference if it's allow you to implement your idea. The main thing is not to copy the reference one-to-one. For example, for this video I need to make a poster that would not take long. This poster should be simple enough, but still show everything that I would like to talk about. I settle on the idea of where the character is looking at the camera. I use my screenshot from the game as a reference. The character is in the frame up to his chest, which allow you not to spend a lot of time posing. The focus will be on the character's face, so the background will be blurred. This will allow you to make a fairly simple background. But what should you do if you have no idea? A really good question with a simple answer. Look for inspiration. I personally look at the paintings, steal from the movies, screenshot from video games, read books, and even just look outside of the window. You can do everything you want as long as it gives you inspiration. Of course, you can start working without slightest idea of what you want to do and navigate the situation. This is how many people work. However, this method has one problem. You can spend a lot of time before you find an idea and really get started. Having started a new session in Blender, I personally prefer to do groupings in order to distribute the characters, scene and lighting in different folders. This isn't an important aspect of the workflow, but it does keep the things clean. Apart from that, I also change the focal length on the camera. I prefer to make posters as close as possible, so the sense of depth in the image starts to fade away and the poster starts to look closer to the drawings. So I like to increase the focal length up to 75 or 110. The default value for the focal length in Blender is 50, and it's very good for creating thumbnails. It's a good balance when the image has depth, but even close-ups look natural enough. For the deeper, wider or abstracted frames, focal length is usually decreased, around 15 or 13. Back to the poster. Load all necessary models into session and start posing based on the reference. Many 3D models have limitation on structure of the skeleton, rig and many other things. If you're using photograph as a reference, then there is a chance that you will not be able to repeat pose 100%, and if you try to do that, then pose simply will look bad. Again, you don't have to follow one-on-one reference, just adapt to what's happening on the screen. At this stage of work, a problem may arise. You spend a lot of time trying to create a pose for the model, but it doesn't look good. You're afraid to make changes because you think you will only make things worse. If you are faced with this, then there is nothing to worry about. Almost everyone was in this position. It is very rare to get a good pose right from the start, and almost everyone make adjustment to the pose as they work. As an example, I tried to repeat face pose based on a reference. The face looked bad to me, so I decided to make a new version. Don't worry, Blender has handy tools for undoing any changes. Just select a bone whose position you do not like and press the key combination Alt plus G to reset any moving changes, Alt plus R to reset any rotation changes, and Alt plus S to reset any scaling changes. So you're done with post for the model and even tweak the camera and angles to make it look as good as possible. What's next? Working with lights? No. Well, not quite. You see, in order for the model to look seamlessly with scene itself, there must be same lighting between them both. Basically, if you're going to do a scene build, then the scene is created first and the lighting is placed after. If you're planning to use a ready-made image as a background, in other words, a green screen, then your lighting will almost entirely depend on the image that will be in the background. For my poster, I will make a simple scene and after that I'll do the lighting. When creating a scene build, and especially when working with previews, you need to remember that the background should not distract the viewer's attention to itself. Therefore, the background scene shouldn't be too complex, but it also should have enough details to look not too simple. Depth of field allow you to focus the viewer's attention on the character and remove the need for excessive details in the background, because it will be blurred. There are two important things to keep in mind when working with a scene build: scene depth and composition. Composition is a very complex topic that can be studied for a very long time. Unfortunately, we don't have that amount of time, we have only a couple of minutes. So let's go over the basics quickly. To make the image look nice and pleasant to the eye, objects need to be placed in special areas, place of the focus or power. There are special place on the canvas image that grabs the viewer's attention. You can find these places in various ways. The most popular of them is method of thirds. This method is very easy to use. The image is divided into 9 equal sections. The intersection of the 4 sections are place of the power. Important elements of your image, for example, characters, are placed in these areas. If you have an object in upper left corner, then most likely you need to position another object in the lower right corner to maintain balance in the scene. Objects and characters can also be placed right in the center of the image. Using method of thirds allow you to build a composition in the scene, but compliance with these rules is not required.
I did what you said, but my image looks, cluttered. What is the problem? Did I do something wrong?
Good question. In order for the image not to appear flat and to have volume, objects in the scene need to be placed at different distances from the camera. This will create a sense of depth. Therefore, you need to put some of the objects in front of characters, something next to the characters and something very far away into the background. Great! We made a pose for the characters and created a scene. Now the moment has to come for the most important thing. Lighting. Lighting is one of the most important elements of the poster or a thumbnails, because it literally affects how your image will look. As well as composition, it is a phenomenal huge topic to study. Luckily, as with composition, it has a good foundation: 3-point lighting. This is a simple and effective lighting technique that works for a simple portraits as well as posters with full-length characters. The essence of this method is simple. You have 3 light sources. The first, the main light. It is located in front of the characters and is slightly offset to the side. The light source should give the idea for your image and almost completely illuminate the characters or main subject in the frame. Therefore, it is also the main source of the light. The second light is ambient light. It is located on the opposite side and should fill or illuminate what main light did not cover. Typically, this is a really soft and not very bright light source. In other words, it is a light source that does not create hard shadows with sharp edges. The third light is the backlight. It is located on the same side as the ambient light, but only behind the character. The purpose of this light source is to hide the silhouette of the characters by creating a border around the characters or main object. Therefore, this light source is usually quite bright and hard, although it does not create shadows with hard boundaries, as with composition. These are all optional rules. 3-point lighting is a good base for creating a light in a scene, but feel free to experiment. If you're using a scene build, then you also need to consider the light sources that may be in the scene itself. For example, in my poster, the pillars of the side creating red lighting. To make the characters seem one with scene, I need to add some red ambient on the side of the character. Or I can also change the color of the main ambient and backlight on the character. The 3-point lighting method also works if you're going to use an image as a background. However, there is one peculiarity. It is necessary to arrange the lighting based on how the lighting is placed on the image. If it's not done, then the character or main object will not look one with scene itself. Also, if you can see the character's legs in the frame, then you need to put a special shadow catcher plane, which will create shadows from light sources. This will allow for even more unity between the background and the characters. Yes, you would like to know how to do it. Well, there's nothing difficult here. Find the shadows in your image and see in which way they are directed. Congratulations, half of the work is done. Now you need to set up your main line source so that the character's shadows is in the same direction as in the shadows in the image. Now it remains to pick the same color for the light. To do this, just look at which color is dominant in the lighting areas of the image. The main light source is ready. Then look at what sources can be in the scene and arrange ambient lighting focusing on them. This is exactly the same process as when working with scene build. If you want to make your lighting more contrast, complex, or just want to use more than one color for a light, then you need to know how to choose the right color. In short, the color you are using must be in the same color spectrum. If you're using two colors, then they should be opposite each other on the color wheel. The most popular color duo is blue and orange. This color combination is very often used on the poster for big budget films. In the poster for this video I used red and blue. If you want to use 3 or even more colors, then they must be at the same distance from each other. When you are working with color wheel, there is one simple rule. The closer to the center of the color wheel the light, the less saturated it will be. The further away, the more saturated. You can use absolutely any combination of the colors, as long as they are in the right places. Our main work in Blender is now complete. It is time for post-editing. Blender provides tools for color correction, adjusting brightness, contrast, saturation, and even has the ability to create post-effects. However, I prefer to use Photoshop because it is more flexible and allows for more precise work with certain elements of the image. Working with 3D models has one peculiarity. All 3D models are made up of polygons. The more polygons a model has, the more detailed it is. The fewer polygons, the less detailed it is. It is not always possible to work with highly detailed models, so it can lead to sharp edges and square shadows sticking out of the model on your poster or a thumbnail. No need to worry, because this could be easily fixed in Photoshop. Sharp corners are smoothed out with Liquify tool. Just pick a brush that's small enough and brush a little over sharp corners and other areas you want to smooth. The problem with shadows can be easily fixed by using Mixer brush. Create a new layer, turn out the ability to collect information from all layers, and just slightly go through the shadows and any other places that you want to make smoother. Congratulations! All the problems associated with low details of the models have been fixed. However, do not overdo it when working with Liquify tool and Mixer brush, otherwise the image may turn out to be too smooth, and the absence of any errors and details will make image sterile and not interesting for the viewer. The eyes are an important focus of the viewer attention, so I'd like to give them some extra detail. This can be done quite simply by using tools to increase and decrease brightness. For example, curves. Take the right slider and move it to the left until the corner of the eye are bright enough, and then simply invert the mask. Take a small white brush and start painting in the places that you want to make brighter. If the lines are too hard, don't worry, because the mask can be blurred and it will make lines less rigid. Do you want to add sparkles to the eyes? Not a problem. Create a new layer in overlay mode. Take a light white brush and start painting in the places you want to shine. If the eyes are too bright, then you can reduce the opacity of both layers. Do you think that your image is too bright? Maybe on the contrary, too dark? Insufficiently saturated or oversaturated? Do you want to make dark areas light and the light areas darker? Not a problem. The answer to everything is Camera Raw Filter. This is the most simple but at the same time most functional tool in Adobe Photoshop, which covers almost all the aspects of the color correction in one place with a user-friendly interface. In addition, this is a standard feature, which means you don't have to download anything extra. However, Camera Raw Filter has one drawback. Like any other effects in Photoshop, Camera Raw Filter is applied entirely to all entire image, which means you need to create a new empty layer and use Apply Image on it. This will merge all active layers into currently selected layer or a mask. Once you have created a single layer, you can apply the Camera Raw Filter on it. Let's take a quick look at the tools we have here. The first tab covers all aspects of the brightness: contrast, saturation, shadows, whites, and even temperature. Do you want to work with brightness and contrast but prefer to do it through curves? Not a problem, because the second tab allows you to do just that. The third tab is all about noise and sharpness. You can easily remove unnecessary noise from your image and also give it more clarity. However, keep in mind one thing: the sharpness works better with higher resolution image and with less noise. The fourth tab is for saturation, hue and brightness of the certain colors. For example, if you don't like how the red color turned out in your image, then you can safely fix it in this tab. The fifth tab allows you to add or change the color tone of light and dark areas of the image. The sixth tab allows you to tweak the distortion and has basic settings for the vignette. If you want to more detailed tools for creating a vignette, then they will be located in the seventh tab. There also be the tools for creating noise. For this poster I decided to enhance the highlights while lowering the sensitivity of the white areas. It makes the image become lighter and lost a little contrast, but at the same time it will decrease the crushing highlights anywhere. I also decrease the clarity value to soften the image a bit, increase the saturation and sharpen it. You can ask, why do I need to make image softer and then sharpen it? It's simple. If you make the image softer, it also reduces the detail and some of the noise pixels disappear. Therefore, the sharpness will be applied more accurately. It also makes glow from the light source more smooth. Sometimes the image lacks just a couple of effects. As an example, I decided to add some noise and chromatic aberration for this poster. Whichever effect you decided to add, it is best to do in final post-processing, while all main work is complete. Again, many effects are applied immediately to the whole image, which make a significant visual change, and because of that, it is very difficult to undo. For example, if you decided to apply noise at the very beginning of the post-processing, then the sharpening will make your image unpleasant to view. If you want to make a poster or a thumbnail like that popular FORTNITE content creator, then you need to increase the brightness, saturation and hue, which will attract attention of the viewer. Here you may ask, what's the general difference between a thumbnail or a poster? The workflow between poster and a thumbnail is the same, but the purpose is different. The poster is made for the viewing in full resolution or a full screen. The viewer will examine image in full resolution and close enough, so you can safely work on idea and details. Also, due to the fact that the poster will have a higher resolution, it is easier to work with contrast and dark colors. The thumbnails, on the other hand, should be eye-catching, bright, vibrant and rich in color. A small clarification: by resolution I mean the final resolution of the image. The thumbnails can also be rendered in 4K, however, since they will be used as previews for the videos on YouTube, their final resolution will be very small. Congratulations! Now that you know the basic workflow for creating a poster or a thumbnail, all you need to do is to get some practice. Here's a quick recap of everything we've learned. First, idea. Provide an idea of what you want to do in advance. Think about poses, angles, and lighting. Second, reference. Once you have some ideas, look for the reference. For poses, camera angles, camera placements, colors, lights, absolutely everything. Third, posing. Start posing based on the reference, but do not follow it one-to-one. Otherwise, the pose may turn out to be bad looking, due to the limitations of the 3D model itself. If you want to dramatically change the perspective and the camera angle, then don't forget to change the focal length value. Fourth, scene. If you plan to make a scene build, then place object at different distances from the camera to create an illusion of the depth. Also, keep the rule of thirds in mind when placing objects, but don't overdo it. Remember, the background should not draw the viewer attention to itself. Fifth, light. If you are using an image for the background, then placing the estimate, be guided by how the lights are placed in the image. If you are working with a scene, then do not forget about light sources generated by scene or in scene itself, if there are any. Otherwise, you can arrange the lights as you wish. Sixth, post-editing. It is simple. The eyes are an important source of attention in your image, so you can add extra details to them. If you want to add brightness, contrast, sharpness, or just make a little color correction, then Camera Raw filter is the easiest and most convenient tool to use. If you want to know more about any of the topics, then in the description will be links to the more detailed video from the professionals. You can also find there a link to a video with whole creation process of this poster, in case if you want to see it. But that's about all. Your Uncle Nick gave you everything he could. All that left for you is practice to gain experience.